Good evening and welcome to Inside Government, a show brought to you by Community College and is broadcast on Spectrum, Verizon, Fios, as well as ARMA, the Auburn Regional Media Access, and the college's radio station, WIN 89.1. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. We are delighted to have in the studio the chairman of the Q County Legislature, David Gould, who was elected to the legislature 2 years ago, was appointed to a job I'm sure he's loved every minute of since, as chairman of the 15-member legislature. But earlier this year, he decided that he would not run for re-election. As many of you know, he was sheriff for Q County for 4 terms, and he leaves the legislature on December 31st. This is somewhat of a county update, but it's also an exit interview to also talk about his public service and what's been going on at the legislature. Chairman, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Remember the exit interview I had when I was sheriff? You thought that would be
I know.
You thought that was the last
I'm wondering
one.
what we're going to do in 4 years or something like this. So for those who don't remember, and I think we may have had you on and you did not make a public announcement until after that, why did you decide not to run for re-election?
With redistricting, they redistrict several of the townships that I live in. Fleming and Aurelius are going to Springport now. I thought Bob was doing a good job.
This is Bob Shea, who was re-elected.
Re-elected, and he will be representing those 3 townships. So and I wanted to do this. I wanted to try to do things for 2 years. I think we've accomplished an awful lot in 2 years, and I think that was enough.
When did you make your decision? Did you wait for redistricting?
January 1st, 2023.
Oh, you did?
Actually, 22.
22, okay. You weren't there 10 minutes, okay. Any regrets about the decision?
Yeah, I do. I love those people up there. I love the county employees. They're just people that do not know. Everybody thinks that county employees do nothing. Let me tell you, being up on that 6th floor and seeing everybody every day, they work their butts off. They work hard.
You have, obviously you were a New York State trooper. Mm-hmm. That's how I first met you, but you have done 18 years with the county in one capacity or the other. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do the second Tuesday of January?
I'm going to go up and watch the legislative meeting, the reorganizational meeting.
Oh, you're going to go? Okay.
Absolutely. I wouldn't miss it for anything.
So I do want to ask you a political question, too, because elections were last week, and the GOP, the Republicans did not do well.
Not well at all.
So shut out of the city, so let's leave that alone.
Absolutely.
Shut out of the clerk's office for the first time in, I don't even
forever, I think, yeah.
So Democrat winning there, with the exception of Bob Shea in the only competitive race. The 2 other Republicans who have been elected didn't have anybody opposed to them.
Hans did.
But Hans is not a registered,
right.
Petcher is not a registered
He's
Republican.
Conservative.
And by the way, has that race been decided?
I believe it was supposed to be decided just this last Tuesday. Okay. All the absentees were supposed to be counted.
So okay.
He was ahead. So.
But the basic number, because I know he caucuses with the Republicans, right. But in essence, there was only one victory of all those races. Like, what happened?
I truly can't tell you. I mean, I knew these races. Some of them were up in the air. I think everybody knew that they were close. I don't know. It depends on how good the legislators did in their districts the last 2 years.
So is it a repudiation of the GOP? Were they just out-organized by Democrats? Is it a combination of both?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I really do, Guy. I mean, there's some good people that got elected, and there's some good people that didn't win. I mean, they're all friends of mine. I've known them all forever, and the people speak. The people. That's why we vote in this country. Is anybody can vote for anybody they want.
But it is surprising in Q County for the first time in years. If you take the Mr. Fitzgerald and Legislator Petcher, most elections here didn't go to absentees. These were not close elections in many cases.
They weren't.
We knew most races by 10:30. When was the last time you knew?
I waited up for a long time because Q County is a little slow on, you know that. So I waited up. I got a call, I think, at 11:30. And with some of the results, not all of them, because as I said, Hans wasn't even decided till 2 days ago, but most of them weren't close.
So where does the GOP go from here? Because now you're going to have, at this stage, you're going to have 4 to 7.
Yep.
And where you were by weighted vote and some conservatives are non-aligned, giving the Republicans a majority, now they're totally out.
Yeah, and it's not weighted anymore.
4 years.
It's not weighted anymore. That's why we changed the redistricting. Now it's one vote means one vote.
And is that for 4 straight years? Or,
Yes.
So Democrats have control of the legislature for 4 years.
Yes.
Any thoughts about that?
No, I don't. This is certainly a political position, but I have many friends in the Democratic Party. It's just as many as I do in the Republican Party.
Well, and at one point you were endorsed by Democrats for your first run.
Absolutely.
So, all right, I do want to ask you about one other thing that's in the news in the last 24 hours, and that's Cuyahoga County Clerk-elect Brian Scanlon. There's a media story about him leaving the scene of an accident. I don't know if you would consider. I don't know if that's the right term.
It is.
But what do you know about what's going on there?
Everybody, I had a lot of calls today. People up on the 6th floor said that it was in the newspaper. I really, literally haven't had time to look at the newspaper today. I do know about the incident a little bit, just from the media. I don't know about it firsthand, naturally, but I understand that Brian had a parked car and left the scene.
So does that disqualify him in your mind from being clerk? Should he still take office in January?
Well, he's elected by the public, and that does not disqualify him to be an elected official.
Okay.
It's leaving the scene of an accident. It is a violation.
So it's not a misdemeanor or a felony?
No.
Okay. So let's move on.
Unless there's further charges.
Okay.
As it stands now.
All right. But do you expect that?
I don't know. I can't. I wish I could comment. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't even know what's
You're in one of
department.
those weird head of the legislature, but you're a former sheriff. So
I had somebody call me today and says, "Are you going to fire him?" I said, "Sir, he's not even taken office yet. He's not a county employee, and it's certainly up to Brian
and it's an
to make his
independent
choice."
office, other than budgetary. It's an independent office. The DA, the clerk, and the treasurer.
They still are county employees.
They're county employees, but they're elected by the public directly, versus the legislature doesn't appoint any of those.
No,
those three.
you're right. Absolutely, they're elected.
They have
by
budgetary. You have
and
a
they're
budgetary role.
countywide elected. Yes.
So let's move on. You said at the beginning you've accomplished a lot. What haven't you accomplished yet that you got 45 days, buddy?
Well, we're working
And
through
I say
this.
that as your friend.
No,
when I say
we've been
buddy,
friends forever. You
but
and your
Chairman,
family are just tremendous people.
Thank you.
We're working through the CETA thing. It's been in the headlines and in the news for probably 3 months now. We're working through that. I've actually called CETA, CCIDA, Cuyahoga County Industrial Development Association, and the county. The three different departments or agencies, whatever you want to call those, are going to do a presentation at the full legislative meeting on the 28th of this month, and the legislature will decide.
So where are they in your budget? And I'm get to the budget, but let's talk about CETA because you brought it up first, and then we're going to come back to other stuff.
All right.
So originally there was this call by some, and it's been ongoing since they were the inception.
2009.
Have you put in your budget that was released last week? Did you put CETA as a placeholder?
No.
So
I put
there's-
the 375,000
Okay.
that went to them last year under a separate line, economic development.
Do you think CETA's been doing its job?
Yeah, I do. But the other people, this all started with the Mike Miller
Right.
let go, whatever the public wants to call it. This is when it all started. CETA didn't notify the county. We are the biggest funder of CETA, and so a lot of legislators got upset over that. So it's been continuing
But
since
what's
then.
snuck in this is this, and I've called it the Shea Plan, and I've been told that I shouldn't call it that by several other legislators, but it's a Shea Plan, which Legislator Shea, who we were talking about a few minutes ago, where the money, the 375, would go to the Cuyahoga County Industrial Development Authority. Is that a good idea?
That's going to be up to the full legislature to pick. That's why I've invited all three agencies, even the county. County's talking about having a different department work with economic development under the county. So all three different agencies are going to come in and do a presentation on the 28th. The legislature will ask them questions. We'll go into executive session, and hopefully we'll make a decision then. It may not be then. It's still in the budget. How it's going to go is certainly up to the majority.
And I know this came up, and I point this way because they were all here in a
Sorry.
row. So can an IDA have employees who do economic? So it sounds like there's 3 plans out there.
There is,
There's CCIDA doing it.
right?
keeping the money with CETA or going back to whether it's a newly created department or putting it under Steve Lynch at the planning, correct?
Correct.
So with that, what's the game plan? Of those three options, what do you like the best out of that?
I'm not going to make a choice now. I wish I could tell you because I honestly haven't. I want to hear the presentations.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's very, very important. That's why I invited them. I think people have their mind made up prior to that, and I don't think they should have their mind made up. They should wait to see what both agencies, including the county, the third agency, tell us.
So his CCIDA said we can do it for $375?
Yeah, well, they wanted a little bit more, but it's up to the county. It's up to the
Okay.
budget. That's what's in the budget.
So with this being said, there was an election last week. We
can't forget that.
Well, no, I
know.
know, but let's talk the practicality. Is that, in essence, a majority of the county legislature that would make the decision now are not going to be legislators on January 1st.
Very true.
And this is a major discussion that's been compressed into an election year and into a very small period of time. Should the legislature punt this to January 1st, when I say punt, keep the 375 in the budget, but this is up to the legislatures are going to be there for the next 4 years versus several people who frankly, decided either not to run for re-election or were defeated.
There's a lot of things that could go in that category. A lot of things we're going to do in the next 45 days.
I'm going to get to those next, but let's deal with CETA first.
I think it's going to be, again, Guy, up to the majority of the legislature how they choose to do this. That was brought up actually by me at a meeting the other day. Should we wait until January 1st for the new ledge? Some said yes, some said no. So that's going to go in front of...
Is there a majority one way or the other on there?
I don't believe there is right now. I think a lot of people are just totally waiting for these presentations.
So let me go back to the bigger question.
Sure.
Like I said, 45 days, 2 meetings.
Two
end of this
full-fledged meetings.
Is this a time period where the legislature should not, because there's going to be this change, make any major policy or spending decisions other than those that they are required to do to keep the budget running? You have a deadline of December 20th. Should they get to that point and say, if it's a policy decision, this has got to be, because in essence the public has voted and they sent a message.
I agree. But still, these are legislators until midnight, December 31st. So how the majority decides is what we're going to do.
So let's go back to still facing. Talk about CETA. We didn't get very far. What else is, what's out there? So I think CETA kind of was tossed on you in the last 3 months, 4 months.
Probably 4 months, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't, if you had come in here back in February, which you were, CETA would not have been a discussion.
We wouldn't even be talking about it.
So let's talk about the things that you would have liked to accomplish. And I can think of 2. One was county management and the other one is the building.
Yes.
So tell me what you're thinking there.
We've had a committee for 2 years since I took over. That was one of my priorities, is the county employees should not have to live in this building as old as it is. The windows are not good. There's snow coming through the windows. There's all kinds of reasons that we need a new building. Is it going to be expensive?
So it's past its functional use
Absolutely,
as it is now?
by far.
Okay.
They talked about building a new building in 2004, and it's been pushed down the road ever since.
So where is it now? I know that Elaine Daly, a member of the legislature who's been reelected, she thought that there would be a plan released before January 1st?
There'll be a vote before January 1st as far as hiring an architect.
So hiring an architect to do what, though?
To finalize what the building is going to look like. We've had meetings with Bergman. They're a company out of Rochester for a year and a half now. We just had a meeting the other day. I have a committee in-house, and I have 4 legislators on that committee. And we're deciding right now what the building's going to look like. There's 3 stages. There's either keep it the way it is, remodel it, the whole building, and add on because there's not enough space.
Right. So one of the thoughts that you talked about when you were here last time was keep operating in the building in front, but with the parking lot there, build a new facility or partial facility back there, and then knock down the front. Is that off the table?
That's totally off the table.
Okay.
That would be way too expensive.
So it is either renovating the building, go through these again, renovating the building, doing an addition to the building, or putting a secondary building in?
No. The first one is, if it's a structural thing, if we keep 911 and the backup 911 and CMO in that building, then it has to
What's
be.
CMO? I'm sorry, what's CMO?
It's our emergency management. If we keep those in there, that has to be restructured. It has to be
'Cause you're in a flood-
reinforced.
You've got some floodplain issues as
Exactly.
well. Okay.
So that's the first choice. Do we keep them in there and have to do that? We haven't got the price yet. We will have some prices
Sounds
within
like
2 weeks.
Sounds like you're doing a building addition at your home. So
Exactly. Oh my
well,
God.
no,
Only a little
comes
bit
out-
more.
No, but it comes to what the price is.
So absolutely it does.
So-
Always does.
Where do you see it going?
I would like, it's called option C1, where we can, do the construction inside the building floor by floor and had a 3-story new addition on. That way, when we move people out for, when they take the
Right.
asbestos out, they can go to that building.
And
That
you'd
way, we
still
won't
keep-
have to rent somewhere.
And you'd still keep that additional building
Yes.
for use
Oh,
in the
yes.
future?
Yeah,
Okay.
but that building will be all rectified and fixed.
Okay.
So we are staying in that building.
And so you think that you will hire an architect in the next 45 days?
I'm hoping so, yes.
So the other item has been this issue of county management. And so we did, I want to say 5 forums, we did 3 interviews, and there was no consensus. I would say there were some who said go to a
County manager.
referendum for a county executive. There were some who said come to a hire a professional administrator. There are some who said change the charter to make it a manager like the city, because there's a difference between administrator and manager.
Right. There is a fourth. You just leave it the way it is.
Well, no, I understand.
Yeah,
but-
with the county ledge and the operations officer, who is Serene Andrusco, doing an outstanding job.
Well, and if the legislature doesn't take any action in the next 45 days, it will be up to a new legislature. Do you have any expectation that there will be anything discussed, or even if you went to a public referendum, the earliest you could do it is in November 2024, and it would take you a whole year on top of that if you were going to do that.
There's going to be
road.
nothing decided by this legislature.
Okay.
That definitely should be decided by the new ledge.
Anything else that you would say that you wish you had been able to get done? Because I want to talk about some positive things in a second, but I want to ask you about what else hasn't gotten done?
Well, we've changed almost every policy in the county. Shireen has worked on this for 1.5 years now. We've gone through every policy. Some of them were so old they were just antique. So we've gone through all the new policies.
Somebody got the parchment from over William Stewart's
Yeah,
house
that's
and
about
brought
what it
on-
was.
Brought it over?
But we've changed all that, and we had 4 union negotiations. All 4 are settled. All 4 were up in 1 year this year. I think I think all of them are very fair. The road patrol for the sheriffs, the custody for the sheriffs, CSEA, and the lieutenants for the sheriff. I think we did a great job. The negotiating team, their negotiating teams, we came to conclusion and we all agreed, and I think it was an honest raise that these people got that they deserve.
So, on the flip side of what's not undone, what are you happiest about in 2 years?
I think probably that, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I took this for 2 reasons, to do something with this building for our employees and to take care of our employees. That's the only 2 reasons I took this seat.
What do you think is the most pressing challenge for the county right now?
Is probably form of government right now. Somebody's going to have to make a decision. Does the new chair take over like I did for 2 years and run the county with hopefully keeping the operations officer? Or, as you said, county manager or a county administrator or a county executive? I am totally against county executive.
You are.
I am.
Why?
I'm only speaking for myself. County executive is elected position. And as we know, sometimes elected positions, people I don't feel should be elected. It's up to those people in that district or county, whatever it may be. It's a small county. If you're well-liked in this county, but you may not be qualified to be county executive. That's the way I
So
feel.
you're more worried it's a popularity contest than based on a qualification?
A lot of elections are.
The flip side, somebody would say, they look at next door with Ryan McMahon, and some of those things were said when he first got appointed to that, but would say in the last 4 years, a county executive can help you with New York State.
Very, very positive. And if we could find a county executive like, I know Ryan, he's a friend. If we can find a county executive like Ryan McMahon, I'd change my mind in a minute. There are just not a lot of people out there, I don't believe.
Where are you on the budget? You released it last Thursday.
Yep.
So where are you in the process?
We have had 2 budget meetings, Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, and went through all the committees, all the 6 committees, and there's going to be some amendments to it. There was an amendment last night from one of the legislators about, I took the boat out of the budget for the sheriff's office. It's a $200,000 boat, which helped the budget. We can get a matching grant, so we're going to work on getting that boat back in. There was 3 or 4 other amendments. They were smaller ones.
So when does the budget when will you adopt the budget, or when does it need to be adopted by?
It needs to be adopted by December 20th.
Okay.
We will probably adopt it. I know we'll adopt it before that. And if we don't, then as you know, it reverts back to this year's budget.
The original.
Right.
Okay. Is there a tax hike in the budget?
There is. It's not going to affect everybody, though. It depends on how your township is rated. If you're
Your
100%
assessments.
for assessment,
So if you're 100%,
you're going to have your taxes go down.
and if your town has avoided doing a reval,
Which
you're going to be
some-
penalized.
Well, yeah, you will be paying some more taxes.
Process for the adoption, you mentioned it's the committee. So are these committees recommending specific changes, or is it going to come to amendments just from the floor when you get to a final budget
No, it'll
vote?
come from amendments from the floor, from the legislators.
How about a public hearing? When will that occur
For the
for the budget?
That is, we don't need a public hearing for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
It's approved by the ledge.
But your expectation is you'll have a budget vote in the next.
No.
It sounds like you want to have it in the next 30 days. You're not going. You don't want to go to the wall.
I think we'll have it actually before that. I think most of the legislators were in agreement with everything that we had Tuesday and Wednesday. Just a couple of minor little things that can be added, subtracted, that will take no time at all. I think we'll have a budget, I'm hoping, by the end of this month.
You mentioned county employees,
Mm-hmm.
and there is no one would say you are not a county employee's biggest cheerleader. I really would say that.
Well,
You're a cheerleader for everybody. Anything you're involved with, you don't get involved unless you're a cheerleader for them.
I don't get involved unless I feel it's important.
Okay, so what should we know about county employees and what they do that we don't know?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I could probably answer that for 2 hours now, but I know we don't
You
have
got
that.
a couple
But
minutes.
again, without having people come into that building and see what they do every day, we have child protective people. 90% of the people in this county probably do not know what child protective does. They have to go out to houses, see battered kids, see kids abused, see kids neglected. And for the salary they get, I give them so much credit. And that's just one department. We have 31 departments. That's just one. Everybody does something different. People, you know, they're in their own lives, and if it doesn't affect them, they don't know what the other departments do. Every one of these departments work hard.
So you came in at the tail end of COVID.
Tail end.
Rate the health department.
I think the health department has done a tremendous job. I think they still are doing a tremendous job. I think Kathleen Cuddy has done outstanding. Deanna Hoy is taken over second place. She just had a baby, and she will be back soon. I think it's well run. I think they have great employees, and I think they do a great job in this county.
This is kind of a mixed question.
Mm-hmm.
I asked it to you 4 years ago.
It's hard to remember 4 weeks ago.
No, it's okay. Oh, I'm sure there's some things you want to forget from 4 weeks ago. What do you think your legacy will be? Not so much from the county at the sheriff's department, because we talked about that a couple of years ago, but what do you think your legacy will be for the legislature? And then more globally, you have put a lot of time from a trooper to sheriff to the chairman of the legislature. What's your legacy in your view?
Well, there's a lot of hours I put in 2 years. I come in the office at 6:30 every day. No one's there, so I get a lot done for the first 2 hours. And I stay late at sometimes 9 o'clock at night for meetings. My legacy is, and I've tried to install this into all the legislators, and I didn't have to in a lot of them, is the word respect. I love that word. I was brought up that way by my parents. That to me is the most important word in the world, is if you respect someone, whether you like that person, whether you disagree with them, whether you have a different idea, if you respect someone, then you're going to be respected.
You and your wife are out all the time because you're on a number of boards. Is that, I joked about what will you do second Tuesday, but you're a guy who likes activity.
No, I'm going to stay on my boards. I'll probably have some other boards have asked me to be on, and I probably will join them. I'll have more time now. I will definitely keep busy. I've had a couple great offers, but most of them are full-time. I'm not ready for full-time yet. I might be in a year. I just need a little time off.
So you might go back to work full-time.
I may. I've learned that you never say never. You know that very well.
Oh, I know. I'm
So
asking
I would never
that.
say never, but I've had some great offers.
Well, because, let's say this. 4 years ago, when you had left sheriff,
Had no
you were asked to run for Congress at that point.
Yeah, I was.
The year John Katko, I think, was running, there are a number of Republicans who went to you and said, you do it, and you turned them down.
Yeah, that was still sheriff, actually, when that
was
happened.
sheriff, okay.
And I didn't want to step down from being sheriff. I enjoyed it. I think that I needed that at that time. I think the sheriff's department needed me at that time, I'm hoping. If it was a later time when I was retired from the sheriff, I probably would have done it. But it was bad timing.
So you embody one of those tenets of Rotary, service above self.
That's the way I was brought up.
So somebody who wants to run for office,
Mm-hmm.
what would you tell them?
I tell them to make sure you know what you're doing and make sure you're ready to be criticized, because you will be. No matter how good a person you are, no matter what you do, you're going to be criticized. Just remember, it's not everyone that is doing this. If you can make somebody's life better by being a legislator, by being any politician, I don't care what it is, if you feel that you can make a difference in people's lives, then please run for office.
So on the flip side of that is not running for public office, but you have served in capacities where you have been an employee, a public employee. What do you tell somebody who's thinking about, whether they're talking about working for the troopers because they're recruiting because they have to? Everybody's recruiting. There's vacancies at the county.
Several.
Somebody who's thinking about working in the public sector, what would you tell them to think about?
I would definitely say do some research. In the public sector, you have retirement, you have disability, you can take care of your families, you know they're going to be taken care of, you know you'll have great retirement, you can retire early. It's just, there's nothing like it. I was in the troopers 35 years, I loved every minute of it. Loved every minute of being a sheriff. I was a special district attorney investigator. I love that. It's the knowledge that you know that your family's going to be taken care of because you're not going to be laid off, and you have the coverage for that family, your family, whether it be dental, eyes, or health. The public is the place to work, and a lot of people don't realize that that's a lot of help for people, and a lot of money you save. You have to go out and buy your own insurance. A lot of companies don't give you that kind of insurance. Work for the public. Work for this. We have some openings. Work for Cuyahoga County.
So 53 years of public service in that capacity through the troop, and you were in the military before that.
I was in the Army before that.
So thank you for your service
I
on
appreciate
so many
it. Thank
different
you.
levels. Also, you have been a great guest so almost as long as I've been doing this show, you have been a public official. I think you came in just after we started inside government 20 years ago. You have always been willing to come here, whether it is as the sheriff, as the chairman of the legislature, also in your not-for-profit capacity, because you do serve on the hospital board, you've been the United Way chair, you've done a lot of that. It is appreciated by all these students and all those people in the control room and the community for doing what has really needed to be done in this community. So thank you.
I want to thank all these kids in this room, and the ones before you, and the ones that are going to follow you. You've done a great job. This is a great asset to the public. It's a great show, so thank all of you, and I hope you go on and be successful in Hollywood.
So our guest has been Cuyahoga County Legislative Chairman David Gould. Again, thank you for being here today and your availability. We want to wish you and Mrs. Gould well in your future plans and all that comes between now and just after Labor Day.
And I'm just going to close with, Guy, you've been such a gentleman to me and a friend. I don't want to get emotional, but you have a great family. I love your dad, your sister, the little one, Crystal. You've been a great community person.
Thank you.
I don't think anybody in this community has done as much as you have.
That's
So
very
we
nice of
all
you.
thank you.
That's very nice of you. We're not going anywhere, buddy.
No, we're not. I'm going to live in this county till I die.
All right. So again, thank you for your time here. We'll be back in just a moment with a Beyond the Front Page, where we're going to talk about tobacco and anti-tobacco efforts locally in the state with Assemblyman John Lamondas, and talking about another member of the county team, the Cuyahoga County's Director of Health, Education, and Public Information. Deborah Pickering is going to be here, and we're going to talk about today being the Great American Smokeout and other things related to that. We'll also be back on Tuesday with our final shows. City Manager Jeff Dygert will be here to give us a city update, and that will be followed by a discussion. In fact, Legislator Elaine Daly will be here about the $1 million that is going into the homeless facility that's being put in place on Grand Ave, and in leading into a public discussion that will be here at the college on November 30th. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cuyahoga Community College. Stick around for Assemblyman Lamondas and Ms. Pickering to talk about tobacco and public health, but otherwise we will see you back here in the studio on Tuesday.
Happy Thanksgiving to all of you and your family.